Evaluating the cost of staying at or leaving a toxic job. This is for Black women in toxic jobs because when you're at a job, even if it's toxic, it is usually very hard to make the decision to leave. So, we're going to talk about the process of evaluating leaving or staying. If you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, a toxic job survivor, and more importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. If you have not already registered for the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women, which is May 18th and 19th, get your ticket. Early registration ends this Friday, where you will be coming in about, probably scared to lead a toxic job, but you will be walking through a process of confronting your fears, learning how to replace your income, coming up with a financial plan, and finding out your options for life insurance, health insurance, and retirement. So again, the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women is May 18th and 19th. Early registration ends on Friday. So please get your ticket today so you don't forget. So again, on the screen, you see the registration link, and it's also in the description section. So I'm excited to have a guest with us today, Dr. Brandy. So Dr. Brandy, I'm going to turn it over to you for you to introduce yourself, and we'll go right into the conversation.
Okay, so I am Dr. Brandi Baldwin, CEO of Millennial Ventures. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for almost 15 years, and I'm excited because I've been able to be in the space where we're launching social impact startups in the workforce innovation space, ironically, as well as in education innovation. So glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Dr. Brandy, I first met you through an open letter that you posted on LinkedIn about experience of workplace bullying. And I wanted to have you talk about this because I think a lot of Black women experience some form of workplace bullying, but we might have not have the word for it or kind of like excuse it or kind of, downplay it. But I think it's important for to name what is actually happening to us because it can be very harmful. So you talked about the experience of bullying. You talked about the impact on you. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more today. So can you share with the audience about what was your experience of workplace bullying? Because you were board chair of
Yes.
tourism for Diversity Matters, right?
Yeah, so I actually was the board chair of an organization and a nonprofit national organization that actually had the mission of helping and improving diversity, equity, and inclusion in the tourism and hospitality industry. And
Hmm.
so while that is not my main industry, I was brought in as an executive committee member when they first founded. So I was a founding member, board chair, board member of this organization, and then had an opportunity to be appointed and voted in for the actual chair role in 2023, the beginning of 2023. So I had been with that organization for some time as an executive committee member on their board and stepped into a formal leadership role of being the top person in that organization on paper.
Hmm.
And that is when my experience transition from being pretty normal, run of the mill, when you're in a nonprofit leadership role and things like that. But once I stepped into that board chair role, I was a little bit more up close and personal
Hmm.
with the key leaders and one man individual in specific who was my quote unquote workplace bully. So
Hmm.
very interesting dynamic there for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So can you share with the audience too? And I think I appreciate what you said that sometimes you think that, workplace bullying happens when you have a certain level of position, but you're saying you had the highest ranking position and still experienced it. So sometimes when we go into the workplace, we might think, well, I have these credentials, I have all these other things, but that doesn't make us immune. And in fact, sometimes it may make us more of a target in work environments. So can you share with the audience what happened to you? What
Yes.
kind of things did the workplace bully do to you?
Sure. So this is one of the things, I love, they say hindsight is 2020. So I kind of want
Hmm.
to give it to you from being on the other side and being healed.
Yes.
One of the things that I noticed early on with this individual was that he started off by sort of talking about other people, right, in a way that was unprofessional. And I
Mm.
figured, hey, maybe some people rubbed him the wrong way. I don't know, maybe, and I excuse that behavior. But what you have to realize, and I think we all know this, if someone's going to talk about someone else to you, they're probably going to talk about you to somebody
As soon
else.
as you leave, probably. As soon as you
Listen,
leave the
as
room.
soon as you log off, okay? And so I was noticing that, and one of the patterns that I noticed was that he actually was talking mostly about women, making
Mm.
disparaging comments about pregnant women,
Mm.
making disparaging comments about people that he worked with that were donors that have given us thousands and thousands of dollars. So
Mm.
when I was kind of putting this together in my head, I said, okay, it doesn't matter how much that they've donated and given to this cause that he is the executive director of. It doesn't matter what may be going on in their real life, like maybe they're pregnant, maybe there's just some life transitions happening. It
Mm.
doesn't matter what title or role they have or what organization they work for. When you're talking
Mm.
about this organization, a lot of people may have never heard of it at all, but they did a really good job of recruiting the top CEOs in the tourism and hospitality industry. So we have
Mm.
had people, when you hear Carnival Cruises, when you hear Marriott, when you hear Kimpton Hotels, when you hear all of these major tourism and hospitality organizations, destinations from different cities, their CEOs are on this board. So what
Mm.
I was thinking was, these people have real power, real influence, and they represent the top of the top. And they too were getting, I don't want to say defamed, but he was speaking derogatorily about them. And
Kind of like
so
character assassinations in
it's
some
like
ways, right?
character assassination.
Gossiping.
So that was the first kind of pink flag, I would
Mhm.
say, that made
Mhm.
me go, okay. But I kind of let it slide because I said, you know what? I don't know these people from a can of paint, and
Mhm.
he's been around longer than me. So maybe he just putting me on game, helping me understand the context. So I was
Trying to
actually
make sense of it.
trying to make sense of it. So I
And
actually was
ignoring,
great.
like you said, ignoring the flags, like you're saying, oh,
Yeah,
that might be a flag,
yeah.
but I'm gonna keep going.
And
Yes.
what it was, how it was said to me was, I just want to let you know, beware of
Ooh.
this person, to
Mm.
help you out. And what
Mm.
happens is the bully is always trying to manipulate
Yes.
perceptions of themselves, of others. It's a very strategic way that bullies really approach. So that was kind of the first pink flag. Then it
Mhm.
progressed to this kind of demeanor that said, without saying it, um, I'm untouchable. I do what I want to do. I don't
Mm.
have, the rules don't apply to me. So
Mm.
it was kind of, people won't say it out loud, but when I mentioned, oh, what about this? Or isn't this one of the pop protocols? Or shouldn't we do it this way? I do what I want to do, was kind of
Ooh.
the response. I went,
Like
okay,
I'll
now.
walk on water, basically. Nope, I'm
Exactly.
untouchable.
So the pink went from like magenta. I was like, wait a minute, we're not at red yet. And I'll say the key factor that made me go, what in the world am I dealing with, is when I literally was yelled at on the first time on a Zoom call, a regular Zoom meeting. I was bringing information and data back. I had been having one-on-ones with the other board members just to glean from them, what do they want to see? How do they think that we can improve the organization? And I
Mhm.
brought that information back saying, oh my gosh, I have some great data, great insights. I'm doing my little assessment to help us out. And here's
Mhm.
some changes and some suggestions that the board is saying that would be great. I love it. Oh, I'm not going to change anything. I don't care what
Wow.
the board says. What they need to be focused on is cutting a check. What they need
Ooh.
to be focused on is, I don't have the capacity. I'm not doing anything else. Unless this individual hires me, another person, to do this, I'm not doing that. I don't have to be here. I can take all the clients and start my own thing. I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. First of all, do you have a problem with me? But I didn't say that. This is
So
the
you're
key.
just a messenger.
I'm the messenger.
You're
I'm
right.
the facilitator. I'm the
Yeah.
liaison, right?
Yeah.
So you're on staff, you're getting paid to execute. The board is here and donating time and funds to be able to set the direction. I'm in between.
Mhm.
And so that was the red flag, when the pink and the magenta turned red. And I'll
Mhm.
be honest, I got off the call. I was shaking. I was so taken aback. If it was anybody else, or it wasn't a professional setting, I
Mhm.
would have probably checked them right on the spot. But because
Mm.
person is influential in the organization, knows everybody, knows everyone on the board for decades. I'm the new person on the
Mm-hmm.
block. So the first thing I was thinking was, you're the new chair. You're the first Black woman chair. You're
Hmm.
the youngest chair.
Hmm.
Everyone, and I was thinking, don't be that person that comes across
Hmm.
weak. Oh, so and
Oh.
so yelled at me in the meeting. So I was trying to anticipate other people's perceptions if I were to share with them how I was being treated. And the way I assessed it was, it's not going to be a good look for you. So shut up, figure out how you're going to deal for now. Try to be strategic. You adapt for their bad behavior,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
you toughen up. It's not about you, hurt people, hurt people. I was doing all these kind of psychological,
Hmm. The
and
gymnastics,
the gymnastics,
exhaustion. Right.
exhausting, because we make excuses for other people's bad behavior, which is why they're able to thrive in
Hmm.
organizations for decades doing the same thing.
Right.
So I'll give you a transition and I'll let you ask your next question. But
Hmm.
this was a turning point where the behavior was getting so consistent.
Hmm.
I would ask for small things like agenda items before an upcoming board meeting. I would ask for just basic things. Never got it. Didn't get it ahead of time. It was kind of like, I don't owe you anything. I don't have to give you anything. You're not in charge. It was that kind
Wow.
of tone.
It's,
And I
it's really like undermining your ability to perform well. So, like you
correct.
can't even prepare yourself.
Correct. And I felt very much like I was on a leash.
Mm.
I was ready. I got the pep talk. You're the millennial, you're the board chair, you're coming in, you're outside of the industry, so you're giving us a different perspective. You're the person that's the global DEI expert. You've worked with Google, you've worked with the federal government, with Comcast. We're bringing you in. This is going to be great for us. I got the pep talk, but when the rubber met the road and I was actually putting points on the board, oh, they didn't really want me to be, this individual didn't want me to be the star player anymore. And I think it's very important to understand that bullies, regardless how they show up, they're the most insecure people in the room.
Absolutely. Deeply, deeply, deeply insecure. And they
Deeply
feel the
insecure.
need to put down other people to
Yes.
feel that insecurity so they feel better.
Instead of saying, look, together we can make it to the championship, it's like, I just have to be the number one person with all the
Unique.
attention,
Yes.
And so I was very disturbed. And I said, you know what? When all else fails, go to good old, policies and protocol. What do? You run it up the chain. So I
Mm-hmm.
decided to reach out and send an email to the CEO
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, I'm a little, I have some concerns about my role and my ability to do my role, some interactions I've had. Let me meet with you. I go into this meeting and he's like, absolutely, sure. What is it? I go into this meeting and I'm like, I got the smoking gun. I'm about to lay it. I'm about to just break the case wide open so that he knows what's going on.
And I'm gonna get some support.
I'm gonna get some
Yes.
support. I'm gonna drop the
Yes.
bomb. This
Yes.
person is saying that they'll steal our clients. This person, like, what we gonna do? And I promise you, I sat there with all my little notes organized and dates and times, and just so that I was prepared. And to my surprise, the CEO was not surprised at anything that I said.
Wow. See? Wait, I'm sorry, Dr. Brandy.
No, you good.
I have to put like a exclamation point with that because when I talk about toxic jobs, I'd say it's a toxic system. So when there's a
Correct.
workplace bully, more than likely the system knows the workplace bully's doing these things. They
Yeah,
know about it.
they
And when they're
know.
silent, they're complicit in it as well. So then
Correct.
the workplace bully feels emboldened and then they run amok.
And
Yes.
here's the thing, this is what I didn't know. This is what I didn't appreciate about that interaction was I went to the CEO, told them, they pretty much validated for me. Yeah, that sounds about right. Now, immediately I felt relieved because I said, okay, at least people won't think I'm lying. Because that was my
Mhm.
biggest thing, that I'm lying, I'm over exaggerating, I'm emotional, I'm being a woman, whatever that means, how people kind of put us in box. I said, all right, I felt good.
Mhm. Mhm.
The solution at the time was, let's meet with this person, let's confront, let's do this, and I'm gonna let you take the lead of that meeting, and I pretty much sat in a meeting maybe a week or so later. And I do believe that the CEO was genuine and sincere in terms
Mhm.
of his he really was empathetic and kind
Mhm.
of like, and he knew that it wasn't appropriate behavior. So I'm not going to
Mhm.
say it wasn't like a total, faking it. He was, but the
Mhm.
difference is when you know something and you have the power, you are the CEO, you're above this individual, and you don't use your power to
Yep.
change it, that's the issue. So all
Yeah.
the empathy doesn't help me when I'm sick to my stomach because I've had an encounter with this individual that really rubbed me the wrong way. When I've lost my appetite and I tell my kids, y'all go ahead and eat dinner, and I go in the shower and just cry because it's draining. That I'm looking for you to use your power, not just,
Yeah.
validate me. And
Yes.
so we had this meeting, and essentially I outed this individual to their face. I had all my notes, and what it did was this individual who has been emboldened, who has been acting like this unbeknownst to me for decades,
Wow.
even in other organizations, now knows how far I'm willing to go because I'm so ethical and in
Mhm.
integrity to
Mhm.
put him on blast. So what I didn't
Mhm.
understand were the other relationships behind the scenes and allies
Ah.
that person had. And
Yes.
so with the CEO not really using his power and putting his foot down, um, in a way that said that he was serious, because
Mhm.
he went through the motions, he talked the talk, but whatever he
Mhm.
was saying, the bully knew, I run this,
Yeah,
and
I
what
got this.
I got this. So,
Yeah.
and because he was someone influential, an influential individual that was a part of the fundraising, who brought in the money, who
Mm.
they had allowed to be the face of the organization for far too long, I think
Mm.
the challenge was to the CEO and maybe other people that he may have confided in early on was, how are we going to undo this? Because I've allowed the bad behavior to go on,
Mhm.
and the fundraising, who's going to do the fundraising? Dr.
The
Brandy
money.
is
The money's
right.
involved.
The money's involved.
Right.
So
Show me the money.
yeah, send me the money. So we're not about to lose the funding. And I think this is the irony, just to kind of super skip to the beginning. And I know we'll tease out other elements of this,
Mhm.
is the irony is by playing it safe, by continuing to not not show this individual that they were serious, they lost funding anyway. They are
Ah,
now on a hiatus as an organization. The
wow.
CEO has now stepped down. The executive
Wow.
director, the bully, has been terminated.
Wow.
So you think that you're saving or delaying the inevitable by having this
Mhm.
behavior, but it actually turned out even worse, in my opinion,
Mhm.
because of how everything played out. Because
Mhm.
once we get to the open letter, now there's a public reputation and
True.
damage control
True.
that you have to do. When I wanted to have a behind the scenes, I wanted to
Mhm.
say, let's clean our house up
Mhm.
first. And in
Mhm.
order to clean our house up, we have to confront some things. I was
Mhm.
willing to do that,
Mhm.
but we put it out there at the dinner table and swept the rest under the rug.
Mm.
And unfortunately, the rest of that year, his behavior got worse. I got the sense he was um, demeaning me and discrediting me
Like
behind the scenes.
retaliation in some ways?
Yep. I was kind of iced out. So, there was no information I could get access to. This individual
Mhm.
was the executive director and worked day in and day out. As the
Mhm.
board chair, it wasn't really for me to be in the weeds, but because we were in a transitional phase trying
Mhm.
to improve the organization, I wanted to know certain details, how,
Mhm.
to make the plan for the future that I was working on.
Mhm.
And by the end of the year, the CEO said, hey, we would love for you to stay on. And I told him flat out, I can't do it. And I wrote in an
Mhm.
email, which is public now,
Mhm.
through files that we shared in the open letter. And it said, I cannot be something to the effect of, on the list. I can't be on this person's list anymore for mental
Wow.
health reasons.
Oh, a target.
The target. I cannot be on his list. I can't be the target
Wow.
anymore. And for mental health reasons, I'm going to have to decline.
Mm.
And I was planning on bowing out gracefully,
Mhm.
chalking it up as lessons learned,
Mhm.
just riding on into the sunset until
Mhm.
I saw the viral incident that happened with the higher ed administrator that committed suicide
Mhm.
because of workplace bullying. And when I read the article, what came across me, first of all, my stomach, I just had that feeling in my stomach
Sick.
going like, Lord, man, I was this close to being up out of this situation.
Mm.
And what I thought was, I made it through. And I'm a
Mhm.
strong person. I have a
Mhm.
high EQ.
Mhm.
I wasn't even getting paid. I wasn't on payroll, so I didn't need the job,
Mhm.
quote unquote.
Mhm.
However, I said, if anyone who comes behind me experiences this individual, that's how
Mhm.
bad and dark the behavior was. I
Mhm.
said, and they do something to hurt themselves, I would feel to blame
Yeah.
because,
So you felt
right?
compelled to share your story because of what happened with Dr. Antoinette Bonnie Candia Bailey. And
Yes.
just I think so many of us were so struck by that, right?
Yes.
Because here was a Black woman, high performing, intelligent, accomplished, and reduced because of workplace bullying and people not helping her at the institution. So,
Yep.
because of that, that compelled you to speak up and speak out. Now,
Yep.
I want to speak to a few things, right?
Yes.
One was that you talked about a flag that I think that many of us need to pay attention to. When people in the workplace start saying negative things about other people, pay attention to that because that is very unprofessional. And more than likely, they're going to end up talking about you, or they're probably already talking about you, right?
Yep.
The
Yep.
other thing is um, for you, Dr. Brandy, you talked about going through this experience and all these the mental gymnastics that you were going through, right? So the workplace bully yells at you, you crying in the shower, you lose your appetite, the impact it has on you. But then the mental gymnastics is, I don't want to be seen as weak. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to do this. And I think so many Black women do that, but
Yep.
we don't recognize the toll that it's taking on us, right? Then you
Yes.
also talked about pets a threat. So you went through an experience where they brought you in. Oh, Dr. Brandy's so great. Even the workplace bully gassing you up and all this other kind of stuff, right? But then how dare you? You start talking to other people, you getting information.
Yep.
The light is on you because you're doing such a good job. Switch the threat, right? So if you're watching this right now and you're not familiar with Pets a Threat, I've done many videos on Pets a Threat. Check that out on my YouTube channel. But Pets a Threat was created by 3 Black women researchers, Dr. Keisha Thomas, Dr. Juanita Johnson Bailey, Dr. Rosemary Phelps. When a Black woman like Dr. Brandy is brought into a workplace situation and she is sought out, like, oh my God, we got to have Dr. Brandy. She's so smart, right? And then Dr. Brandy's doing all this great stuff. They love her. She's the pet. And then Dr. Brandy or you might start outshining the other people in the workplace. And it's a shift in terms of how you're seen and treated. So I heard pet's a threat. The other thing I heard that I so appreciated you said was many times we're in these situations, we as logical people are thinking, okay, I got my receipts, I got documentation, I got all my stuff. I'm gonna go take my documentation in. I'm gonna expose them. I'm gonna expose them, right? You going with all your receipts, all your documentation, just like I did.
Mhm. Yep.
Do not know who is behind the scenes, who their connections are behind the scenes. For the life of me, I cannot understand who the workplace bully was connected to because she's competent, and everybody knew she was a bully, right?
Yep.
Had lawsuits against her, everything, but she still stayed and was promoted. But again, Black women, if you're in these situations, like you hear what Dr. Brandy and I are talking about, and you're in a situation and you're trying to logically make sense of it, you're not going to be able to because more than likely you don't know the relationship that the bully has with somebody. Because usually they have something on somebody. Okay.
Now look, you said it, not me, because I was like, it only takes, and someone actually said it to me, and they were like, what's going on with him? And I'm not going to say the person who they named, which we can all probably deduce, but they were like, what's going on with them two that this person won't hold that person accountable? I said, that's the same thing I'm trying to figure out.
Yes. So you talked about how that impacted you, and it got to the point where, just like me, I resigned from my job because of the stress from the job. That was why I left. Right now, yours wasn't paid, but it was still like a job position.
Correct.
But you left because the job was negatively impacting your mental health.
Yes.
So, what's that decision? Can you share with us? Because I loved how you wrote this in the LinkedIn article.
Yeah.
Can you share with us? Because you said initially you were uncomfortable about sharing with people about what you went through. Then you went to the CEO. The CEO said he was going to do something, said all the right things, but nothing really happened, right?
Yep.
Can you share with the audience the process that you went through and what you told yourself when you decided to leave? Because I think that's key when people need to think about what are the costs of staying, versus the cost of leaving. So can you share with the audience about that?
Yes. So this is the thing. I was at a crossroads, and the previous chair that I had taken over for, as well as the CEO, we had had, multiple conversations behind the scenes. Of course, they were the only ones really aware of what was going on. And I
Mhm.
will say they laid it on pretty thick in terms of like, we need you to stay. Like
Oh
we're
my
right
God.
there at breakthrough.
Mm.
We believe in you and all of that. We really want you. So they were laying it on thick. And I was this close to being like, I'll do it. And part of it is
Wait, Dr. Brandi, I'm
because
sorry. Wait. They're telling you they need you to stay there, but they're not doing anything to protect your psychological safety in the environment.
you said it, not me.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. Hmm.
So this is the thing. When you are being torn down by an individual and they're chipping away at your self-esteem or
Hmm.
trying to at your identity, you're in that weird place. And then you have individuals that are saying, you're great. We really need you. We're really this. It sounds even better
Hmm.
than what
You're
the reality
vulnerable. You're
is.
vulnerable.
Yes. And so I'm so glad that I didn't give in, because if
Hmm.
I did, it would have only been because finally, they love me. They really love me. It would have been that. It wouldn't have been, it would have been personal. It would have been about it would have been my ego that needed to get, fulfilled. And they need to be built up, my self-esteem that need to be built up. It would have been those fleshly things, for lack of a better term, those carnal kind of things that I would have done it. But if I would have stayed, and just
Hmm.
considering how my thought process was,
Hmm.
I thought about it in terms of individuals, right? No one, I can't control Dr. Kamani. I
Hmm.
can't control Jack, Jill, Bob. It's not about controlling others. People do what they want to do, and it's about accountability. So I thought to
Hmm.
myself, in the last couple of months, have I seen any type of accountability? Have I seen any
Hmm.
organizational integrity? Now, what made this worse was we are the DEI organization. So I was
We're on
like,
top of that. On top of that.
either change the mission or change the behavior, but you can't be we're about creating inclusive spaces in tourism and hospitality, and this is the most
But yet we
exclusionary.
terrorize, but yet we terrorize within our organization.
So I was like, just for that reason alone. So values are important, and this is how I was able to make the decision. And then I'll talk about
Hmm.
the strategy.
Hmm.
What do you value?
Hmm.
I firmly believe, and I am a woman of faith, that there is no door that anyone can close for me or open for me that is not God ordained, for example, right? If you want to kind of take that tilt, or
Hmm.
that there is, in any bad situation, okay, we can find something better. So my values were what really helped me say, I don't value being treated this way. I don't
Hmm.
value misalignment, meaning people doing one thing and saying another. I don't
Mm. The
value
hypocrisy.
the
Yes.
hypocrisy. I don't value lying, because the
Mm-mm.
individual straight up lied in the confrontation meeting. I didn't say that, and I didn't say what I said was. No, you did say that. You did,
Mhm,
right? So
mhm,
it was the values that made me say this whole situation is out of alignment with my values, and if I stay, then I have to come to grips with the fact that I really don't value integrity. I don't value alignment of values. I don't value ethics. I don't value myself. I don't value, and
mhm,
I wasn't willing to have that realization that, wow,
mhm,
you really don't value, no matter what the check, because there may not have been a monetary check attached to this, but it was almost more value when you are the board chair of an organization and you have Marriott on the board. So they're
mhm,
looking at me like, she's the chair
mhm.
of this. That was supposed to be a brand building moment for
It
me.
was social currency.
That was social currency.
Yeah.
And so I think that women need to really consider their values and get
Mhm,
back in alignment. And once you link up and sync up again with your values, the strategy will come. But
hmm,
sometimes we're so stuck trying to
mhm.
figure out, well, I don't have the money. And if the paycheck stops, but I already been here for 7 years and I'll be vested if I just stay 3 more. And then I'm 4 years away from retirement. You might be dead by then from a heart attack because these folks are stressing you out.
Okay.
You might
Okay.
be
Yeah.
limiting your opportunities, thinking that this is the only thing, when you can switch over to another industry or do some networking. We have to
Mhm.
do the work. So when you're coming out of that place, when you're
Mhm.
coming out of that environment, it's
Mhm.
going to be some work,
Mhm.
but it's way easier, it's better, it's more rewarding on to do the work and be in a better environment than to
Mhm.
stay and be victimized over and over again. So it's a mindset. I
Mhm.
always talk about I'm a fairly new gardener for the last couple of years.
I love gardening
And
too.
right. And I always talk about how I had to learn. See, before I got a whole bunch of seeds from online and I was like, oh, I'll sprinkle my seeds around. I'm gonna water them and then some sun. But no, some seeds needed more moisture. Some
Mhm.
seeds needed like drier
Mhm.
soil. Some needed this type of fertilizer. Some needed a covering over it. And so you will never be able to grow into who you really need to be in your career and in your life if you're stuck in the wrong garden, in the wrong
Oh.
environment.
Oh.
And so when you're being choked, right, when that by all those weeds, when you
I was about to
are
say that. Weeds,
right.
yes.
Thank you. That was the word. I was like, dang, I know you were gonna come through because I was this close to being like choked about what? When you are dried out, right? When you're not
Yes.
getting watered, when you're not
And
being
the
fed
weeds
nourished.
kill your vitality. They
Yes.
kill your growth. Yes.
Yes. And here's the thing. Are you going to be and when that happens, you're your weakest self and your weakest state. I used to have some little pitiful plants just hanging on by a thread, just dried out, struggling because I didn't understand that I should have planted this 2 months earlier or two
Mhm.
months later. I'm trying to grow
Mhm.
cilantro in 95-degree weather. That cilantro is like, but we are trying to grow into be our best selves, and we
Yeah.
wonder why we can't because we're not in the right environment. But what do we do? The strategy will present itself once you decide. And for me, I just had to make that decision. This is how God works, and I cannot. I say this over and over again. I've said it to family and friends who have asked me about this experience, but I promise you, I said I was going to bow out gracefully. I saw what happened to Dr. Antoinette.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I reached out to one of the other individuals. They actually reached out to me, who was an executive assistant there, on a whim, and said, hey, I'm not going to continue. I want to stay in touch. This is why I'm not continuing. And the person said, oh my gosh, I've been having the same experience. I said, what? All this time, all year? I never knew. I thought it was just me. No, I've been having the same experience. And I spoke to the CEO about it. I said, you know what?
Oh.
Give me the other person's number, another young lady that worked there. I checked in with that person. I said, hey, I know you're not there anymore. You just recently transitioned, to another role, but did you have this? And they were like, oh my gosh, I had the same
Oh
thing.
my God. So now patterns.
Patterns.
Oh my gosh.
So this is why I want to encourage people, because if I would have done the safe thing, if I would have bowed out gracefully, if I would have just gone on about my business and just glad I'm out of here, and I wouldn't
Mhm.
have done the hard thing, because I was very weary, very torn, just torn down in a bad place,
Mhm.
specifically with this situation. But if
Mhm.
I wouldn't have done that, how when you just have those synergistic connections, I wouldn't have known that it was going to help other women were experiencing the same thing. And
Wow.
then within myself and those two other ladies, I said, I'm going to write a letter to the board, and I'm going to let them know, because I can tell already that now that they know that I'm not coming back, it's business as usual. They're like, phew, I'm glad that, kind of
Yeah.
glad she didn't
The
come back.
troublemaker. The
Right,
person
the
setting up
trouble.
the system. Like,
Right.
and they know it's toxic, but they just want some,
They don't want to confront.
consistency. Don't rock the boat.
Yes.
Don't mess
Don't
with money.
rock the boat. Don't mess
Yeah.
with the money. So it's kind of this little fake succession meeting where we're all like, "Mhm, and Dr. Brandy, you've done so well this whole time. And we just want to thank you for your
Oh
time and blah, 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 blah." And I was like, and I said, it was Monday, MLK Day, I think January 15th. And I told the other two, I said, I'm going to write a letter to the board, and I'm going to let them know. And I said, and the reason why I'm going to write the letter is because they have to know. And I can tell that the CEO maybe, and maybe I wouldn't either if I was a CEO, but I know that it was getting swept under the rug. And
Mhm.
I think that they didn't really understand. Like I was saying, like, no, 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 this person is dark. It's
Yeah.
not like, and they kept saying, like,
He's
a little
harmed me
personality.
and other women. Harm,
Right. It's like, come on
abuse.
now. So
Yes.
we did this letter, and I said, I'm not looking for resignations or anything. I'm just trying to open up the communication here and let you all know, as people that have funded millions of dollars to this organization, that we're in trouble because this individual needs some help, right?
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, 24 hours later, I reach out. I remember a young lady that I worked with probably almost years ago, almost a decade. And I said, you worked with this individual. I'm purposely not saying his name, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, you worked with this individual. I said, I never knew that you had a problem with them. I never heard you say anything bad. You actually seemed like, you were great working together. But I had a recent experience with him, and I was kind of shocked at how he treated me.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out on text. I hadn't spoke to her in so long. So the first thing I put was, hey, Brittany,
Mm-hmm.
it's me, Dr. Brandy. Is this still your number? So
Mm.
I responded back a couple hours later. Hey, Dr. Brandy, it's me. So nice to hear from you. I put the text in there. Hey, I had this experience, but I said I never knew you to say anything bad about this person. Well,
Mm-hmm.
she sent me an entire thread. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he is still acting that way. He used to talk about my hair, my afro, my this, that. And let me give y'all a plot twist. This is a black male. Let me just tell y'all. Let me just let the cat out the bag
All
now.
kinfolk and kinfolk, okay?
Listen.
Yes. Oh my
And
God.
by the end of that week, the letter goes out on Monday. The Tuesday is like a silent day. I send this text message out to Brittany Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
and she sends me this whole thread. I kid you not, by Friday, I think I had 5 or 6 additional individuals, because
That's
Brittany said, I know this person. Let me see if she'll speak to you. I said, have them call me. This
wow.
person called this person said, oh, I remember this person. I said, have them call me. He said, okay, I'm gonna reach out and see if she's willing to talk to you. By
Wow.
the end of the week, I was so overwhelmed. I was emotionally distraught. I
Yes.
was in tears. I
Yes.
didn't, but this is how it worked out. All you need is one individual.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just about me. It wasn't even the other 2 women. I just got an email. It's now April of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I just got a message on my LinkedIn. I'm sorry, not an email, on my LinkedIn, from a woman saying that they were a student of this individual back when they worked in a higher ed institution 20 years
Oh
ago,
my gosh.
and said the
Wow.
exact same thing, and said, I remember it like it was yesterday. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, I knew that the turn of events happened just for this to be exposed.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. This is how I just love how life works sometimes.
Karma comes back and gets you, doesn't it?
Listen, how is it the person that's not in the tourism and hospitality industry gets to be the board chair? How is it that the person that is a successful entrepreneur that doesn't need a paycheck, that they didn't make me so they can't break me? How do I get
Oh,
that
oh,
role? Stay
yes.
there for a year, get all the information and data. And if it was any other scenario, I don't know if I would have been able to go through with it. But when you're
Mm-hmm.
kind of immune
Mm-hmm.
to because I really thought about like my money, let me
Mm-hmm.
just think reputation. I can be blackballed. I can be this. And then I thought, wow, I'm so grateful, because what are y'all? I give money to that organization.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I give time, effort, and energy to that
Mm-hmm.
organization. So what do I really have to lose? And if I lose those things, like I was willing to go for broke. By the time it's the values clicked in,
Mm-hmm.
I was very resolved that let the chips fall where they may. But
Yeah.
as a part of my legacy, even if you all try to make a joke of me and try to
Mm-hmm.
discredit me, deep down inside, y'all know
Right.
that I'm her. I'm that
Right.
person.
Right.
And oddly enough, it had nothing to do with me. It
Of
had
course
to
not.
do with every other individual woman from 20 years behind. And
Mm-hmm.
the open letter includes women from up to a decade that
Wow.
have worked with this individual who had the similar experience, and they did reach out and they did ask HR for help and they did ask for managers, and no one did anything. The truth of the matter is they didn't do anything this time, but exposure, putting
Mm-hmm.
light on darkness, makes people
Mm-hmm.
move.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they waited until the open letter came out, which got
Mhm.
picked up by the media, which went,
Mm.
and the rest is history. And that literally just happened a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Wow. And I just first have to say to you, Dr. Brandy, I commend you for speaking up about what happened, because I think about how many other women have you saved from this person
Yeah.
engaging in this bullying behavior, this abuse, this trauma, and the system colluding to support and not hold them accountable. And the part that is disturbing is when organizations do this, they can act like they're nice and all these other things, but when they do this, they really undermine the psychological safety within the
Yes.
workplace, which
Yeah.
will then carry over into low productivity,
Yeah.
attrition, all these other things, which is going to be bad anyway. Now, you said some things too that I wanted to ask you about or point out too.
Sure.
One was you talked about value. What do you value? So you value integrity, right? You value speaking truth. But I think another part is, even though you had the fear about, oh my God, this is going to mess up my reputation. They're going to talk about me. What's going to happen? You knew your worth. You knew, wait a minute, this place that doesn't make me or break me, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
want Black women to be able to hear that, Dr. Brandy, because when I talk to Black women about, if you're in an environment and it's toxic, and I say toxic is any situation that's caused you mental or physical harm, right? So it's
Yes.
different for different people. But when you recognize it's causing you harm, but you say to yourself, but I got to stay because I'm about to retire. I'm about to be vested. I got to stay because I'm about to get this money. You have to think about, one, like you said before, are you
Yeah.
going to make it?
Yeah.
Right? Physically, and even think about psychologically. You're going to have a nervous breakdown. Are you going
Yep.
to make it? What kind of person are you going to be? And I remember I interviewed Angela Kanu recently about finding joy after leaving a toxic job. And she said, what scared her most was, who was she going to be if she stayed?
Correct.
Right? Because when you're in a situation like that, it can make you into a different person.
Your
So,
whole personality
oh
shifts.
my
Yep.
God. Oh my
Yep.
God. On so many different levels: personality, your health, your
Yeah.
well being, your friends and family know it's all about the people at the job. They sick of it, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Oh God. They're like, oh my God, not them again. I don't want to hear about it again. Oh, I don't want to hear about it.
They live rent free in your head. They
Girl,
become a part of your, you know what I mean? And that's,
your life, it becomes consuming, and they
yep.
even come into your home. So like
Yep.
once the weekend's over, so when you talk about the cost, when I talk to Black women, the cost is not only what you have to deal with when you're in the workplace. You're masking all day, you're swallowing stuff because you know it's wrong, all that kind of
Yep.
stuff. You're playing the game. But think about how much mental energy that you have to put forth getting ready to go to the place, leaving the place on the weekend. So
Yep.
it takes over your whole life. Now, knowing your worth is extremely important. The other part that I really appreciate what you said is that you refuse to be silenced, because so many of us in these environments are silent because of fear, right? For fear of retaliation, fear of
Yep.
what our status is, fear of we're not going to get a promotion, fear of all these other things. But it has to get a point where we say, my self-preservation is
Yep.
more important. So when you think about the cost, you think about, can you live with yourself? Knowing that you're going along with all this craziness going in the workplace and
Yes.
that constant disrespect. Now,
Yes.
something I want to circle around to was you talked about no one was there to protect you, right? Like they were gassing you up and, oh, we don't want you to go, but they weren't protecting you. I know when I was in a situation too, had all my documentation. I'm going to all these people trying to get alliances. I'm going to expose that bully, right? I'm expose the bully, but no real protection at all.
Mhm.
And that is so painful.
Yep.
What was that like for you to not be protected in that environment as well?
Well, you know what? It was just a reality check. You know who's really for you. Sometimes silence
Mm.
speaks so loud. And to
Ooh,
this
girl,
day,
doesn't it?
there are a few
Girl.
individuals that I thought would reach out, not to say, oh, he's horrible, because it's sticky, right? When you know someone and maybe you only have seen one side of a person
Mm-hmm,
and I get that. But just
mm-hmm.
to say, hey, heard about it, enjoyed working with you, wish you the best of
Something,
luck. Listen, it's
something.
people silent to this
Girl,
day that I said thank you, because that silence, that says a lot. And
Exactly.
especially when they're on the wrong side of right, and on the wrong side
Yeah.
of history, when it
Yeah.
goes like you just don't know the half.
Yeah.
So I think that it was more so a reality check of me
Mhm.
saying, and this is what someone said to me in a different context. It was actually a former client. Things hadn't didn't go quite, what like we thought it was going to
Mhm.
go. And one of the people on their team said, "Business is business." And I
Mm.
said, and that it woke me up, because I was getting, you know, emotionally involved with the mission, the values, and we're supposed to be
Mm.
doing this. And this
Mhm.
is what I want to share with everybody listening. Business is business. You need to start carrying yourself like a business. That means I'm
Mhm.
here to exchange my skills, my talents, and my abilities in exchange for this paycheck or
Mhm.
whatever the agreement is. As soon as that goes off course, I'm going to check in with you. I'm going to maybe check my perception, make sure that, maybe it's me. I'm
Mhm.
going to maybe run things up the chain. But I think that as women in general, we
Mhm.
really need to start being business minded. You are a business. You
Mhm.
are, anytime, that's all business is.
Mhm.
Money gets exchanged when problems are solved. We're solving problems on the corporate landscape, nonprofit, whatever the context is. and
Mhm.
and when that adjusts, my thing is, know the rules, know the
Mhm.
laws, know
Mhm.
the handbook, the policies, the procedures. And if they're not there, make that plain. You know what? I was struggling in this organization to get any assistance because there aren't any policies or procedure. There isn't a dispute resolution process. Use that, because here's the thing, business people, when you start talking and approaching it like that, when it's, they yelled at me and they hurt my feelings and they're just condescending and they're just biased and they're the nah, wah, 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 wah. But when you say, this is out of alignment with the values that this organization claims to have, in the
Mhm.
handbook, on chapter 4 of the handbook that talks about interactions, what it says is that there is a dispute that there should be a grievance process. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, the grievance process has that I need to let my supervisor know, but the issues with my supervisor. So what other
Mhm.
method? You have to be like this.
Yes. Yes.
And when you start talking like that, what you're saying is, you're about to have to pay me for your inadequacies. You're going to have. So I think women need to really, and the thing is, they are going to retaliate. They
Mhm.
are, but they're going to retaliate. That
Mhm.
comes with the process. But we
Mhm.
live in America. We have
Mhm.
an EEOC. We have the
Mhm.
HR commission. Like, we have to be business minded, because we
Oh, but
have
can I
people.
say something right quick?
Yes, yes,
We have those things, but more importantly, we have ourselves, we have agency, and we can decide.
yes,
We can see the writing on the wall, we can see the red, the pink, the magenta flags, we can see
yes.
all that kind of stuff, right? When we start seeing that stuff, what do we do about it, right? Do we dig
Right.
our heels in and say, I'm gonna stay? Or do we say, okay, I see what's happening. Let me start getting my exit plan together and
Yes.
start looking for something else. So
Yes. And
we
that's why I
have,
love
but
you
more
with,
importantly, we have ourselves.
yes, but what you're doing in terms of helping them get to that transition. Because I think many women stay in the, this is wrong phase. This is wrong. Ain't that wrong? Ain't that's wrong? I can't believe that. And it's like, we all are like, we can't believe it either. It is wrong. What are we going to do now that we,
Exactly.
because boundaries have to be set. And there are some toxic environments where when they even think that you're about to flip on them, they'll get you before you get them. And
Mhm.
so I think it's important to get, not, I don't say get through that emotional part, but I had to sober up. I really
Mhm.
did,
Mhm.
because the sick to my stomach and the, palpitations. We're about to log into a Zoom. My heart is racing.
Mm.
It was just such a
Mm.
psychologically abusive
Mhm.
interaction that I was
Mhm.
having. But then I had to, like you said, agency is important. We have to make a choice, and
Yes.
you don't have slave shackles on me. You don't have that much. It's a mentality. I had to say, I have control of how this is going to play out. And
Yes.
I'm willing to go through that icky fallout part of this to get to
Mhm.
the other side. I'm
Mhm.
willing to get in that confrontation mode in order. And confrontation just meaning putting it out there. I can't
Mhm.
be silent and, thinking that something's going to happen. So I want to encourage women and your listeners to be just thinking about business. And here's the thing. I just spoke to someone last week who's going through a similar thing. And I said, when you go into the meeting with HR, the leadership, who will let them know, I cannot do my job effectively. You all are paying me. I can't do my job effectively with this leader treating me in this way because it's having this, and this effect on me. And
Mm-hmm.
so what you're doing is you're covering your bases so that if and when they don't do what they're supposed to do, all you're going to say is, well, I had a meeting with them on the 10th where I told them that this was happening. I had a meeting. So the talking part is not to control the outcome. Us sending in the open letter, because there were two letters. It was a letter to the board initially, kind of giving them a heads up, which
Mm-hmm.
triggered an investigation, or at least I'm not going to go there, but it triggered them to know. It triggered them to know that it was something brewing for them to
Uh-huh.
start strategizing on how they wanted to play, how it was going to go down.
Right.
Right. And then the open letter came a month later after they didn't do anything.
Right. Right. Right.
Because
So
because the
yeah,
investigation was just right.
girl, and I'm so glad you said that because I could read Black women. We can read each other, right? And I was like, oh, I know what she's saying right here, right? So we might think, oh, I'm gonna take the receipts and I'm gonna do this, da, 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 and they're gonna so-called do an investigation. They're not doing an investigation. It's
They doing the wait till this dies down gation. That's what they
right,
doing.
right,
Wait
and
till she
hoping,
stop being so emotional. Okay.
right, and
Okay.
hoping some kind of way you'll leave and just leave it alone. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, no,
Yes.
girl,
Right.
no.
So
Mhm.
it's one of those things where and here's the thing, there's a different posture that you have to have, because when they're wrong, they yelled at me. That may be true, but I promise you, when you get yourself together, your words together, you get your tone together. We know, especially as Black women, we know when Mama really wanted to get her voice came down. That's when we knew. When Auntie, right? And when you really just stand 10 toes down in a meeting
Mhm.
and you call a thing,
Mhm.
and you let them know this is really out of alignment for the type of environment that I want to be in, or was told that I would be in,
Mhm.
whatever norms or whatever the case may be. Okay, they said this, they said that. It doesn't matter what they throw at you. We're not trying
Mhm.
to be right, and that's the problem. We need people to validate us, and you're right. I'm not trying to be right. All I'm trying to do is let you know so that when we go back, don't say you didn't know. So when I
Right.
sue you, don't say you didn't know. So when you're
Mhm.
going to be paying for all my therapy, you're going to be paying for my paycheck for the next, there are legal, and right now in the workplaces, we really have to educate ourselves,
Mhm.
because there are people that are taking advantage in a good way. They're taking advantage of the laws, what we have in place for those that are
Mhm.
really like 9 to 5ers. And there
Mhm.
are levels to it, right? Because
Mhm.
toxicity, it can like that's like level one.
Mhm.
Bullying, workplace hostility, there are levels to it. But when
Mhm.
you're at that level where you really know
Mhm.
that there needs to be some whistles blown
Yeah.
on what's going on,
Mhm.
educate yourself, and I learned this, 95% of these type of cases,
Mhm.
on workplace bullying and things of that nature, they never go to trial. What does that mean? They're cutting checks before you
Yep.
even listen.
Yep.
Stop crying. Go to the house, be at the house for 6 months and get your money. You want to treat me because this is business. Hit people where it hurts. But
Mhm.
in the social realm, where we're dealing in that social dynamic, you're not going
Mhm.
to win, because socially they will discredit you just as quickly as you decide to put something on paper
Mhm.
formally. They're going to dredge up every single lack of performance that you've had, every single a person to say that you rubbed them the wrong way in the past. They'll do whatever they can to save face, to
Mhm.
make you go away. Or sometimes it's just an intimidation tactic because they
Yep.
think you're not going to go all the way.
Yep.
And so I find that for me, it was important. We're not going to do an open letter, or I'm not going to expose anything to the board until I've already spoken to you. I've had the meeting
Mhm.
with the individual with you there. I've heard
Mhm.
you say that individual has been getting firm talking to, or whatever. It's like a phrase
Oh,
a CEO
please.
would use, like, we're having firm
Oh,
conversation, Dr.
please.
Brandy. Just trust me. I've been firm with it. And I was
Oh
like,
my
wow,
gosh.
how firm? Is firm as a mattress? Or firm as some concrete? Because this is
Right.
right. And I gave it time. I gave it 6 months. So I was doing all of that because at that point at which I realized, I done been outed. I gave all my notes to the guy, to the bully in the
Mhm.
meeting, And I thought that the hammer was going to be smacked down, and it didn't. I switched strategy. I said, okay, so now all we're doing is preparing with the end in mind. This is not going to go either way you cut it. It's
Mm-hmm.
probably not going to go the best. He now
Mm-hmm.
knows that he can start discrediting me because he knows that I'm, sharing personal interactions that we've had. So at this point, it's a communication progression so that in retrospect, I can say, I spoke to you. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't speak to you and then out everything to the board. I spoke to you. I let it ride. I got treated poorly for another 6 months. I
Mm-hmm.
sent you an email saying I can't continue due to mental health reasons because I don't want to be on his hit list. That was the term, hit list
Mm-hmm.
anymore. You told me that the best strategy that I can do is to call him on his BS. Dr. Brandy, call him on his BS. I'm going to support you on that. That's not a strategy. That's child's play. I'm a grown professional woman. So the fact that you're giving me permission to call him on his BS, that takes me out of my character.
Right.
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 And so I'm doing that so that when it hits the fan, you've had 7.3 times to fix it. You've had 6 to 7 months to fix. I let it breathe. And
Mm-hmm.
so now it's a different story. It's not I jumped the gun. I didn't know, we weren't aware, and we weren't this, even though they tried to play a little bit of that. So
You can't play the ignorance card.
you're
You
not gonna
can't
play
do
the ignorance card
it.
on
Mm-mm.
my back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I think that one of the takeaways there is going to be it's business. It's not personal. And here's the thing: bullies. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with that personality type. Some
Mm-hmm.
people are just straight up narcissists.
Mm-hmm.
Some people they're so broken, traumatized, and insecure, and that they just go around doing that to people.
Mm-hmm.
And in a place, in a space, especially a professional setting, you don't have to put up with it. You just
Right.
don't. And
Right.
here's the thing: other people, they've been they think this is normal. It's okay. It doesn't bother them. Being in toxicity and drama and things like that, they've been working there for 87 years and they'll continue to work for another. So don't look for anyone else to validate you. Like y'all working here. My standard is different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if all of y'all don't mind that
Mm-hmm.
he's yelling in meetings or whatever the case may be, but it matters to me, and it's not a
And you
person.
don't have to stay there as the only place you can make money. I think that's the part that people
Yeah,
get lost in, that you can leave, you can go somewhere else. And we're talking about exit planning. So
exit.
exit planning is one of the things we're working on in a virtual summit. And it's so interesting too, because you talked about issues about legality and all that and discrimination. And
Yeah,
we're talking about that during the summit too. So we have to think about as Black women, are we open to even looking at and exploring options for us to leave? Or are we stuck in that mentality, like you just said, oh, well, other people do it. What's wrong with me? I should probably just stick it out. No, no, no. If is this the life you want to live? That's what you need to ask
yes,
yourself, right?
yes,
You said, carry it like a business. Now, I want to say a few other things you said too.
yeah,
So basically, when we talk about evaluating if you should stay or go, if it's like a business, look at it like a profit loss statement, right?
yes.
So, what are the benefits, what are the costs? Like, what outweighs the other? My hope is that your health, your sanity, your peace outweighs a job, because you can get a job somewhere else, or you can
You
make them.
can.
You have options, okay? So, I want to
Yes.
emphasize that. The other thing I want to say that I don't think we talk about a lot too, Dr. Brandy, and I'm so glad you brought it up, is what happens to those of us who have been terrorized in the workplace? Other people are witnessing it. Nobody's protecting us. People that we thought we were cool with,
Right.
crickets,
Yep.
like no support, nothing, right? Just silent. And it's just, which speaks volumes. But just to say to Black women, like, if you know of another Black woman who's going through it in the workplace, if you could just reach out to her and say, hey, sis, I'm thinking about you. Hey, sis, that's
Yes.
messed up what's happening. Not that that person expects you to take over,
Right.
but just
Yeah.
the
Just
humanity of
acknowledgement.
it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So, girl, I cleared out so many phone numbers out of my phone. I was like, okay, you were
Yes.
not there for me at all. You didn't check in with me not once. And you knew
Yes.
what was happening to me, right? So you talked about, you gathered a group of women who, came out, they spoke out. The CEO resigned, the workplace bully was out, right? Now
Yep.
you said a quote that I'm gonna read that I thought was golden, right?
Okay.
You talked about some lessons learned. You said, forget my money, forget my reputation, forget what people will say about me. None of that matters more than shedding light on the darkness. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that a little bit? Because that was beautifully stated.
You know what? That was like my motivating moment. It's the thing that I was kind of saying in the mirror to myself. It marked that turning point where in my spirit I was saying, I'm back.
Mhm.
Forget, it's the no turning back moment. And there's something so powerful when you decide. That's
Yeah.
all we're asking. Make a choice. Don't ride the fence. Don't be the, and when you make that choice, that's what immediately ran through my mind when I said,
Mhm.
I'm going to move forward and shed light on what has been happening behind the scenes. And that was the dialogue I had with myself
Mhm.
as I was making that decision. Forget my, because what it was is I'm talking to myself,
You
because
got to
one
focus on,
part of me is saying, put your money, and I'm saying, forget my money. And so I said, put your reputation, forget my reputation. But what they gonna say, forget my brand, forget it. It was that thing that we have to say to ourselves to
Mhm.
say, it's time to go to work.
It's time, and it's time to go,
It's time
right?
to go. We're not going to be in this in betwixt and in between. What do they call purgatory? Because
Oh.
you feel, when you delay decision, you
Mhm.
really feel so disempowered.
Mhm.
And so for me, and it could have went either way. If I said, I'm going to move on and put this behind me, that's just as empowering, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, whatever you're going to do, don't be the
Mhm.
victim stuck, chained to the job. What am I going to do? Where else am I going to get the money? What am I going to do? It's about in your mindset saying, I will not be here under these circumstances. I
Mhm.
will not be treated this way. I
Mhm.
will. And once you decide,
Mhm.
everything gets clear in terms of what you need to do, what you're willing to do. You can do the exit plan
Yep.
and strategy and take the steps from a place of empowerment, because if
Yep.
not, it feels like they ran you out of there. It's like,
Mhm.
and you're just like, oh, I just got to get out of here, and instead of being like, you know what, I'm so tired of y'all's behavior,
Mhm.
I'm actually done. I've
Leave
reached
on your
my
terms.
seal. Leave on your terms.
Yeah.
There's
Make your
something
own
so
plan.
powerful about that, and so I think that many women can, especially with some of the content that you're going to have at the upcoming event, are going
Mhm.
to be able to get some type of resolve. And I
Mhm.
think the angst is when you're in that in between phase of, this is happening to me. What am I going to do? I don't know what to do.
Mhm.
I kind of want to do this, but should I do this? And what's going to happen? We don't know what's going to happen, but
Well, now you're in a fear space,
a
right?
fear
And when you're in
space.
a fear space, you sometimes go in this crisis mode of, I'm just going to stay where I'm at.
Right.
But if you
Right.
stay where you're at, nothing's going to change. If anything, it's going to get worse,
Yep.
right? And so we're
And
looking at, how do you save yourself?
yes, how do you save yourself? And then one of the things I had to come to grips with, which was a tough pill to swallow, but it was, I kind of had a conversation with myself to just tell myself, if you don't say anything, you're an entire fraud. Don't ever say anything
Mhm.
online about toxic workplaces. Don't say anything about DEI, about equity,
Mhm.
about inclusion. Don't say anything about. Don't say
Mm.
anything, because when trouble knocked on your door,
Mhm.
this is how I talk to myself. So I'm not saying this to anyone else
Mhm.
here, but how it hit me was when trouble knocked on your door, you punked out. Or you was worried
Ooh.
about your little brand. Or you was worried about your
Ooh.
little bit of money, or little reputation. You went self-focused
Mhm.
instead of thinking about a bigger picture of what you claim to be about. and
Mm.
and I had to have that conversation with myself to say, if you don't do this, you're not about that life. You're an
Right.
entire, you run your mouth, you bump your gums, but you really don't want equity in the workplace. You really don't want to see a change for women, for Black women, for people marginalized, whatever, all of those little
Mhm.
groups. You really don't. So just
Mhm.
make sure to back up out of those contexts and those conversations, because you're
Mhm.
not about. And so that helped me come to also the realization of, like, it's hard to do this work. It's
Yeah.
hard to do this work. We can talk about it. We can talk about biases and this and all these things have been happening for 400 years, all these conversations. But the truth of the matter is, when it comes to your doorstep, Are you going to make the exit plan? Are you going to maybe advocate for others? Are you going to put it out there?
Mhm.
Or are you going to continue to keep other people's bad secrets? And so other
Mm.
people get
Mm.
hired into the organization thinking it's a great organization.
Mhm.
And instead of you being like, go to the next exit,
Get
go
out.
to the next exit, girl. You know what I mean? But we don't do that. And
Right.
so for me, I think in where we are in the world, with the economy, with, just so many things happening, we have a lot of power,
Mhm.
and we have people power. And
Mhm.
so as we have to do our individual part, and I think about it as a trailblazer, and it's all about our identity
Mhm.
as a trailblazer. You may not think of yourself as that, but what the trailblazer does is imagine 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot grass, right, on an undeveloped land, and they're the
Mhm.
ones that have the machete, and they're front
Mhm.
in line chopping everything down. So the
Hmm.
snakes are going to pop out at them, bugs, all of the energy and effort to make a pathway for others to come behind. And
Oh.
so I had to say to myself, do I need someone else to kind of trailblaze this for me, or can I
Mhm.
do the work and let the chips fall where they may? And I
Yeah.
decided to take my machete out. We're going to chop this situation down one
Yes.
blade at a time. And it's rough, it's tough, it has ups and downs, even
Mhm.
going through the process. Once you put things out there, this individual started publicly saying that this was a coordinated campaign against
What?
him,
Oh my
and
God.
that it really, I was like, this is getting like Twilight Zone,
Right.
like 10 women.
It sounds a lot like Clarence Thomas. You know what I mean? Like
I just
what?
like, brother,
Yeah.
just let it go. Like, you've been
Right.
caught. Stop, bow out gracefully, and but again, people will take it to the full out extent, right?
Mhm.
And so I just encourage, I know we're like close to wrap up, but I just encourage everyone to really get in tune and in touch with your identity, your
Mhm.
values. What do
Mhm.
you stand for? And let that be center and in front of the decisions that you make, not your fear,
Yeah.
not right. And it's easier said than done, but
Mhm.
just speaking, and I'm fresh off, right? Everything hit the fan like January, February, and from being on the other side of this, I promise you it will be worth it. Even if you have to be at the house, I know it's not the popular thing to say like at the end of the podcast, but even if you're at the house collecting unemployment for 2 months, you did it your way. There's something about standing up for yourself, standing up for what's right, that you will get paid back.
Mhm.
You will get paid back
Mhm.
positively. It's
Mhm.
just the way the world works.
Yeah.
It's just right. There are certain laws that are in motion.
Yeah.
And when you stand up for right and you do the right thing, you have nothing to worry about. Whatever temporary fallout, setbacks, defamation, discrediting, whatever temporary things, if you can get on the other side of that, you will
Mhm.
be rewarded. If nothing else,
Mhm.
then earning your stripes,
Mm.
building the character that you didn't have, because some situations are there to build our character. Some
Mm.
situations are unfortunate, but it helps us realize that we're stronger than we knew. We're more
Mhm.
powerful, and it translates positively into other areas where maybe we're being a victim, or maybe indecisive, or maybe not owning up, not using our agency, some of the things you
Mhm.
were talking about. So
Mhm.
there are positive outcomes. And I spoke to the women afterwards. We kind of debriefed, and we were all talking, how are we feeling? How are we feeling? And it honestly was bittersweet,
Mm.
because the lengths that I had to go through, the lengths that collectively we had to go through for one individual, tells you the type of toxicity, darkness that we're dealing with in our workplaces.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, if I didn't have their backing, they would have 100% discredited me,
Mhm.
blackballed me,
Mhm.
and sent me on my way.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate that I had to have the voices of all these other people to say, okay, we gotta
This is
actually
real.
let this.
This is
This
real.
is
Like
real.
there's too much evidence to say no. It's too
Too
much,
much
right?
evidence. And
No.
so
Yeah.
Yeah, so just continue to press forward, but decide, make the decision, take
Mhm.
action, make the plan, the exit strategy. All of
Mhm.
those things are indicative of you treating yourself like a high value business. And
Mhm.
and and when you have that angle to it, you're going to
Mhm.
speak to HR with a different tone. We're not
Mhm.
begging or asking anybody to do anything for us on our
Mm-mm.
behalf.
Don't expect them to
So
come save you.
don't expect them to come save you. Everybody can stay silent, and
Mhm.
you have to almost have that energy, that don't try me energy. But when they feel like you're not going to go all the way,
Mhm.
whatever that means,
Mhm.
right? They're going to throw everything at you. But
Mhm.
when with a straight face, you're able
Mhm.
to let people know what you need. This is what I'm looking for. I need to be placed in a different department within the next
Mhm.
30 days. If you're not able to do that, feel free to just put in writing why you can't do that or whatever, and I'll be able to take my next measures and steps. Thank you. That's it. We're not forcing anybody to do anything. And I
Right.
wasn't mad and forcing you need to do this. I just said, that's what I'm going to do. Just a
Mhm.
heads up.
Mhm.
And they thought I wasn't going to do. Just a
Mhm.
heads up. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I really need to recommend that you
Mhm.
do this or that, because I'm going to have, and people will think you're not serious. So
Mhm.
being really clear and serious and articulating
Mhm.
what you're willing to do
Mhm.
with people, I think it really will help and work in your favor.
Yeah, and I think the part you said too is so important. Know what your company policies are. So bring that up in terms of how coworkers are supposed to be treated, right? Colleagues are supposed to be treated.
Yep.
The other thing is you talked in a tone that was very measured. So when these things happen, it could be so painful, devastating, all these other things. So if you need to get therapy or something like that, so you can process this stuff, maybe practice with your therapist, so you can get
Yep.
that stuff out of your system. Because when you think about a toxic job, that stuff is getting into your system, right?
Hmm.
So that might be an option for you. And then the virtual summit, just to talk about that too, that you will learn about ways to replace your income or creating your own job or side hustle. And I interviewed Libria Jones recently, and we were talking about fear, that fear is not always a bad thing. Fear gives you information, but don't use the fear as I can't do anything. And we're going to talk about that during the summit about how do you walk through the fear, because the fear is real. And then I love this thing you said about the machete, right? Going through.
Yes.
So I see Marissa Price and we got the machete, and we're going through and we're
Yes.
paving the way for Black women to show you there's a way out. So we're channeling our inner Harriet to reach out to you Black women, that you have a way out, the virtual summit. Okay. So Dr. Brandy, I know we're a little late, but we're just gonna keep going on. But anyway, so
Okay. The
if
kids
there's
are like, where is mom right now? Can we stay up extra late tonight? No worry. I got a couple more minutes for you. So go
we
ahead
got a
and
couple of
shoot.
minutes, this is
I
so
got
good, it's so rich, right? So if there's a Black woman watching us right now, right? And she is listening to everything we said and she can relate to it, but she's saying some version of herself to herself, she has to stay at this job because, like you said before, I'm about to retire, I'm about to be vested, my kids are about to graduate. If she's saying some version of that to herself, what words of wisdom would you offer to her?
I would just say, first and foremost, you deserve better.
Mm-hmm.
You deserve better.
Mm-hmm.
Create a plan to transition. The other
Mm-hmm.
thing I'm going to say is there's more work to be done. I think sometimes we fall into our comfort zone, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, but I know these people, but the commute, but it works because Bobby's school is over here. We
Blind to
start
yourself.
we start making excuses, and part
Mm-hmm.
of it is because we're letting ourselves off the hook from stretching.
Mm,
So I would
mm,
say this is your stretching season. This is something new is on the horizon, and this may be a sign and a signal that it's time to leave the nest. It's time to leave this comfort zone for something new. But if you do not pursue it, then you're not going to see the opportunity that's on the other side of this. And so
mhm,
I think that, and then the last thing I'll say, just to a point I made earlier, is you have more growth. You
mm,
have more inside of you that cannot come out when you're in this type of environment.
True.
So you gotta get out of there. It may be 2 months, it may be 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
it may be 20 weeks. It doesn't matter,
Mm-hmm.
but start making the plan. And
Yes.
the great thing is when you have something, it's easier to transition where you can
Mm-hmm.
do some interviews while you're still there. It's not
Mm-hmm.
when until the heat. Sometimes we wait until the heat is so hot
Right.
that we're like, because sometimes we know they're going to try to get me first. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of time. So I would just tell
Mm-hmm.
those women, you deserve more, and there's something better for you out there. Expect it
Mm-hmm.
and receive it.
Yes, I love that. That was beautiful. So expect it and receive it and be open, knowing that there's something bigger and better for you, even if you can't see it in the moment, and preparing yourself. As Black women, we are always prepared. Get ready. So get ready. If you have a
Ready.
sense of some, get ready. Okay.
Yep.
Get your plan together and knowing that you can hopefully create your timeline about when you want to go again on your own terms. So, as we're winding down, can you share with the audience about the work you do now? And also, you
Yes.
have a 1 hour webinar coming up, right? So, can you
Yes.
please share that with the audience as well?
Absolutely. So I am, of course, back fully focused on my day job as CEO and founder of Millennial Ventures. We're excited to be launching a variety, not launch, launching and operating a variety of organizations, one of which is the Futures Leadership Network. And it's really an organization that we have been working on for quite some time. And our board really understood a couple years back that our future in the entire world is dependent on ethical leaders. And so this organization was founded and launched by the parent company, Millennial Ventures, really to help build the leaders that are going to run the organizations in our world for our children, for our grandchildren. Our number one focus is building a community and a network of ethical leaders that know the cause that they're assigned to champion, and that we're equipping them with the skills they need, confidence to be able to go out in the world and to be able to lead in the midst of some of the toxicity, some of the politics, some of the bureaucracy. And one of the first events that we're doing as we are launching the Futures Leadership Network is the upcoming event that's happening. It's called Courage and Conviction, Bold Women Overcoming Toxic Workplaces. And it's on April 26th at 11 a.m. Eastern. Anyone who is listening, even if it's a year or two from now, I encourage you to go to joinfutures.org. And even if you want to sign up as a free member, get a free membership, and just contact our team, and we will send you the recording from this event. But what I decided to do was get the cheat code, right? The package up all of the things that I did, not knowing it that I was doing it, right? Because retrospect, looking back at this situation, this scenario, so all of the twists, the turns, the nooks, the crannies, the setbacks,
Mm-hmm.
the wins, I pretty much have created a model and a framework for how I dealt with this highly toxic organization. And I'm giving the game, free game at this event. So any women can attend, men can attend, and I'll be breaking down more of a methodology for how people can handle these type of individuals and make some of those decisions that they need to make as they transition out of toxic organizations.
That's powerful. That is
Yeah.
so powerful. So
Yeah.
everybody, I'll put all of Dr. Brandy's information description section on YouTube. So just give me a little bit of time. I'll put that in there. So go check that out and register. Okay. So I want to give respect to our community and read the comments from our community. Hi, ladies. It's so timely wrapping up a meeting, but we'll be listening shortly. Okay. Hopefully you're able to tune in. High level gaslighting. Absolutely. That's what you experience. That also sounds like discrimination based on a protected class. Things to document to negotiate a severance agreement. Yes, absolutely. Yes. And make sure you like this video, everybody, because it lets YouTube know to suggest this video to other Black women. That takes a toll, having to keep yourself in check because you feel like you're representing everyone, past, present, and future. It's a lot of pressure. Indeed, it is. You adapt to bad behavior. Wow. It was part of the culture. Often you are viewed as a troublemaker. Yep, yep, yep. The CEO seemed like a coward in this situation by not confronting the bully. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm currently in that situation. Pray for me. We are praying for you, and we hope that you get support you need, resources that are available to you. I'm in this situation right now. I'm so stressed out, but God, wow. Let's see. At this point, I value myself over any job, period. Good. I love that. Excellent. Okay. So true. That's powerful. Can't grow in the wrong environment, period. What if you have very limited experience? I'm still learning on my new position. I feel like my knowledge is very basic. What would you say about that, Dr. Brandy?
So I think at the end of the day, when it comes to our roles and professionally and things of that nature, and in this situation, I'm not sure if anyone knew this, but the majority of the women that encountered this individual over the years were early 20s or last year in college.
Oh, wow.
I'm the oldest individual that he dealt with. I look very young, but I'm the oldest. And so when you think about being new in your career, not having that information or that insight, um, I think it's just all about doing your best.
Mm-hmm.
But still the same rules apply as if you're senior, because what we know is that these type of situations, they don't discriminate. I was the
Yeah.
board chair. I have a PhD and came in there high level. Other women were college seniors on
Mm,
apprenticeships and internships. There were a lot of interns that experienced this behavior. And so I think that, all of those things aside, that the individual wrote, you still deserve better and still need
yeah.
to follow through. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are policies and laws and things of that nature that no matter what role or level you are in the organization, you still have rights.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree. DEI is a setup or a farce for Black women. I'm transferring to another work site and have a boss who might be trying to retaliate. Ooh, okay. So, again, we're going to be talking about retaliation, all that kind of stuff during the summit with Amory Archer, the anti-HR lady. So, you may want to check that out. I've been typecast for the industry I'm in. I want to quit so bad. Tired of my chest hurting. Girl, when you're having those symptoms like that, that
Don't
is
ignore
your
it.
body saying to you, I am being harmed. Please pay attention to that. Please take it seriously. Please start taking or making steps to remove the source of the stress, right? So I've had Black medical doctors on. They've talked about when you're under chronic stress, that wears your body down, okay?
Yes.
And it's not healthy for you. There's something called weathering, where your body organs start aging at an earlier rate than your chronological age. Okay.
Yep.
So take that seriously. Start making an exit plan. You may want to come to the summit as well. Again, that information is on the screen. Okay. Somebody said your body is speaking to you loud and clear. Yes. I'm certainly working on it. Good. Good. I'm glad you're working on it. That can be the worst. Praying for you. I know that making a skills inventory was helpful for me. So this is the person who was
Who
kind
was
of
talking
new
about
to the
this?
job market. Yeah.
Yes.
I had so many skills I hadn't even acknowledged. Excellent feedback, Marissa. I love that. For me, it's the ones you think would be there for you the most are the ones that get you the most. Ooh, yeah. I've had some betrayal. I've absolutely experienced betrayal. It's terrible. Yes, yes, yes. Hater, male. Congrats, Dr. Brandy. Oh, well, we can't tell what company it is. We can't tell that. Okay. Uh, I would never go back to a toxic environment. Never, never, never. They take up too much space in your life. I'm so sorry you're experiencing this. Retaliation is illegal. Documentation may be helpful. Yes. So the anti-HR lady has talked about this in our channel, and also we'll be talking about that during the summit. Oh, did you sue? Why or why not? That was a question. Did you sue?
So for me, because I was in a board chair and volunteer role, I decided not to. There may have been some grounds. I spoke to lawyers throughout that entire process. Um, I'll leave it at that. There are
Mhm.
others that were involved that have grounds, legal grounds that they can pursue, and whether they do that or not, will be up to them.
Yeah. And this
Yeah.
question has come up a lot. I've thought about it and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to have someone on talking about she actually did move forward with
Okay.
that.
Excellent.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have her on. That was the most painful thing. A lot of bystanders just looking on. Yeah, that's, oh, documentation. Let's see. Business. We owe no one anything outside of our job description. They like that. You are a business. I'm willing to exchange my talents for a paycheck, but not at the expense of my health and consistent disrespect. If so, the check better be worth it. In my case, it simply is not. No check's worth it. I don't care how much it is. It's never worth it. Okay.
Let me tell you this. I have a very close friend
Mm-hmm.
making $300,000 a year. She's looking for something else because of this exact same experience.
Wow.
Listen, literally just got off the phone with her a couple of days ago saying,
Wow.
Dr. B, I said, what's the move? What's the strategy? And we mapped out some things that she's going to be doing, and she's making $300,000.
Wow. So it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Throw their words back to them, show them receipts. Yes, so relatable, take back your power. The physical shackles turned into psychological shackles, but we have agency. Yes, we do. HR is not your friend. They are there to protect the organization. You have to have a battle plan. Yes. Hi all. Have any of you ever quit a job you just started?
Yep. Just like they have you on a 90-day probation, there's no loyalty anymore on either side. So if sometimes we think, oh man, they hired us, and what about this? And it's just one thing wrong, but I don't really like it. If you have something else that you're able to line up, move on. Move
Yeah.
on. Yep.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm quoting Stephanie Perry, these jobs ain't loyal. Okay. So
Okay,
watch the
exactly.
jobs that are not loyal and they're harming you. Don't do that.
Yep.
Okay. I have different standards. Yes. Thank you, Mara. Yes. So the early bird registration for the Job Liberation Virtual Summit ends on Friday. So get your ticket. Okay. So April 20th, early registration ends. I quit a job. Wow. Look at this. I quit a job after 4 hours and made him cut a check for my time. I love that. Okay.
That part.
Verbal abuse. As we plan our exit strategies, we need a network support group for encouragement on the journey. So I'm giving you a heads up that Marissa and I will be launching again the next cohort for the Job Liberation Healing Community for Black women. And we'll be launching that after the summit. So stay tuned for that. Love it. Powerful. Chat Black women of the excellent variety need to realize how necessary and powerful we are. I pray shows himself mighty on our behalf. Trailblazer is a great title, but the weight, the work is something else, right? So as Black women, we are often a trailblazer, but we can't take on all the weight by ourselves all the time, right? We need to rest. We need to be able to hand it off to somebody else, but somebody else needs to hold a baton too. Okay, not just drop it. My father called them pioneers. This is beautiful. I know now, never ever to compromise on our worth. Yes, they'll never admit it, but that's because darkness doesn't like light. So true. I'm glad she is sharing that. I believe that as well. We get rewarded for doing the right thing and comes back double to us. It's tough as we go through it, but the rainbow after the rain is so sweet. So true. Power concedes nothing without a demand. Yes. Okay. Let's see. I'm excited for the summit. Yay. Okay. I signed up for the summit. Yay. Excellent. Okay. We should not be afraid to get a little uncomfortable. So true. And let me just say this, Dr. Brandy, because you were saying something and I was like, oh, I want to say, I totally forgot. Sometimes I think as Black women, we say, oh, I'm comfortable here. Like I know the players involved. I know the devil here. I know all that kind of stuff, right? I think we confuse comfort with familiarity, right? You
Yes.
might be familiar with something, but it's not comfortable. It
Correct.
can't be comfortable if it's harming you. So let's be clear about that, okay?
Yep.
Hello, and thank you both for facilitating a safe space with needed information. I'm currently dealing with retaliation after reporting the director for an inappropriate and formal write-up. Yep. As we've said, these things happen. We want you to be able to find out what to do about it. Again, the Job Liberation Virtual Summit. Sure have. I left a couple of jobs soon after joining when the truth revealed itself early on. Thank you. Okay. So everyone, I know we're a little over, but this was such a rich conversation, right? So I appreciate you, Dr. Brandy, with all that you've done. Let's see, I'm
Thank
going through all of
you.
this at the moment, extremely stressful, booked on the summit. Yay, good. Okay, so again, Dr. Brandy, I am just thankful that I read your open letter on LinkedIn, that I reached out to you. You were open to coming and you shared so much powerful information, particularly about thinking about yourself as a business, and that as Black women, that we can move, and sometimes we need to move in silence when these things are happening to us.
Yeah.
But the importance of getting our exit plan together. Again, Black women, check out the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women, May 18th and 19th. Let me say this because I forgot to say it earlier. Early registration is open now to April 20th. Please know that when you're in the summit, Marissa and I value your privacy because we know as Black women, we have to move in silence many times, and we don't want people in our business. So nobody on the summit, except for the speakers, will be on camera. Participants, you'll not be on camera. Your names will not be listed. If you want to say something during the summit, you can change your name on the platform, okay? So don't keep the fear of people finding out you trying to leave. Don't do that, okay? The other thing is when you're coming in, you're deciding when you want to go, okay? We want to give you the resources, the how to, and you're learning from Black women who have gone through toxic jobs, who have left, and who are doing well, okay? So again, the Job Liberation Virtual Summit, check it out, get your ticket before early registration ends on Friday. And again, Dr. Brandy, thank you so much. Any last words you want to share with the audience before we sign off today?
The last words I'll just say is remember, this is not about the people, right? This is about you. I
Mhm,
wasn't here talking about a man or the
mhm,
CEO or an organization that failed me. They're a dime a dozen, unfortunately.
mm.
It's about you,
Yes.
right? And so I want us to take away that part of the conversation. What about me? What about my value? What about,
Mhm.
my next move, my next opportunity, my strength, my courage, my character, my conviction? What about
My work.
all the things, my worth? What about that? And keep the focus on that
Yes.
rather than the other people who are behaving badly.
So true. I appreciate you saying that. So as we're signing off, please give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. And please share this video with at least 2 other Black women and register for the summit. Okay, so I will see you later. Thank you, Dr. Brandon. If you could stay on for one moment. Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.